Hey everybody, so I posted a cover of a song called Black Rain, Black Rain by Bondy um, about a year and a half ago, probably, a little over a year ago. And Jordan Suits 5781 just asked for a tutorial on how to play it. So I'm going to do my best to go ahead and do that. I am just a couple of quick things first. I've never really taught anybody before. I've taught my kids, a thing here and there, and friends and things like that when we're just jamming or whatever. But as far as like an actual lesson, I've done a couple, but they can get kind of wordy. So I'm working on that. The thing is, like, I'm mostly self-taught. I primarily learn things by ear, just by listening and then trying to figure out what they're playing. Or like I'll find a tutorial on YouTube. Rather than, because a lot of what I do is kind of intuitive, I think what I will try to do is maybe not necessarily explain everything that I'm doing as I'm doing it, but I'll just try to play it really slowly. And if there's something in particular that maybe needs some explanation, then I'll do that. I'll go into that. So let's, with that in mind, let's get into it. So this song, Black Rain by Bondy, is on his first album, which is called American Hearts. And it's a really good tune. So I'm gonna just do this. Okay. So what he does, first of all, the tuning is like a variation on open C. And I don't really remember off the top of my head what this tuning is called, but it's basically, it's it's C, G, C, G, C, E. And I call this the John Fahey tuning because John Fahey uses it on a lot of songs like Requiem for John Hurt, Funeral for Mississippi John Hurt, Revolt of the Dyke Brigade, Sunflower River Blues. It's also, if you're a Zeppelin fan, it's also the tuning that Jimmy Page uses on the song Friends on Zeppelin 3. So the if you're a fan of that. So so that is the tuning that you want to use. In terms of right hand pattern, I'll shift a little bit here, but in terms of right hand pattern, this uses a standard Travis picking pattern throughout the entire song. So if you're familiar with that, then you have a good starting point. If you're not familiar with it, I'll give you a little bit of an explanation here, but there are definitely videos on YouTube that are better at explaining that stuff than this is going to be. I mean, really, you could do an entire lesson just on that. But this pattern is very commonly used in like folk and rock and country and stuff like that. But basically, you're alternating bass with your thumb, or you can also do kind of like a so that thumb pattern is always going to be on the 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 and then with your fingers you can pick different strings depending on what you're playing. You can pick different strings on the and. So 1 2 3 and 4 and 1 2 3 and 4 and 1 2 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So if you're new to this, maybe start out a little bit more basic. Like just start out with one finger at a time, like 1 2 3. then once you start feeling comfortable with that, then you can start working things in like, and so on. So that's the pattern that we're going to be using for this. So let's start with the intro of the song. Now in the intro, there are a couple of different ways to do this. There's the version that he does on the album, and then there's how he plays it live. When he plays it live, excuse me, there's a lot more kind of variation in it, just depending on how he's feeling, you know, at any given moment. But typically, and kind of the easiest thing to do is you start on the 12th fret of the 6th string. So he'll play that through, you know, a couple of times, and then he'll start up here and kind of do like a walk down. So like, do a little bend on there or something like that. Or sometimes he'll do to the 4th fret on the 5th string. So that's pretty straightforward. Now I'm going to, let's kind of get into the lick that he plays before he starts singing. So he basically plays through a verse, like an entire verse, just instrumentally, and then gets into the singing. So what he does is this. I'll try to play it at speed first, and then I'll slow it down for you. So it's actually a lot simpler than it maybe sounds. I'll try to give you the clearest view here, but what he does is so let's just go back to that first little part. And you can add that little rather you can do it a couple of different ways. If you know, just for starters, you can do the slide up is important. Slide up from 2 to 4 on your 2nd string, and then 3rd fret on the 1st string, and then you slide up again. I like that little, or you can just play. And then from there, then he goes to the 5th fret on the 6th string. It's probably easiest if you use your ring finger, but he just plays on the 5th string, and all the other strings are open. And then he adds the 5th fret on the 3rd string. So you're playing the 3rd fret on the 5th fret on the 3rd string, and you're kind of alternating your fingers between the 3rd string and the 2nd string, because the 3rd string you're fretting a C note, and your second string, you're playing an open C note. So you get that nice. And it's a little bit of a stretch. So if that's hard for you to stretch your hands like that, you can also do this. So like sometimes I'll play it like that. So you can stretch, give your hand a little bit more room by just using your pinky on the 5th fret. So let's take it from the top again. So then he plays the G, which is 5th string is open, 4th string is on the 2nd fret, 3rd string is open, and then the 2nd string is on the 2nd fret. Put that little so from this, that's just the same as the first part. So then you go from the 5th and you do a pull off to the 3rd. And then there's the little bend. Now there are a couple of ways you can do that too. I think when he plays, usually he does 3rd fret. And you can either bend it up and then back down, like or like sometimes what he does that I think sounds really cool is he'll start up at, he'll already bend it and then pluck the notes. So you get that. So I think he plays it on the 3rd fret. You could also do it on the 2nd fret, and it's a slightly different flavor, but it's basically the same thing. Or let's tune up a little bit here. And then he does the walk down again. So that completes the kind of the beginning lick. That's the same, like I said, that follows the same format as the verse. And then he gets into singing. And then what I do for that is and I'll just kind of slide my fingers up just a little bit. It just adds some texture to it. So then for the first verse, black rain, don't fall on me. So you can just play those open. Black rain, don't fall on me. So he plays the walk down for that as well. And it's a little tricky. It'll take you maybe a little bit of practice to kind of get the syncopation of your voice and your playing pattern down a little bit. So don't worry about that. We'll just focus on the playing for now. And then if you want to sing it, then you can kind of slowly add that on top. But here, let's just focus on the playing. So black rain. then he goes to the chorus, and for this, so he slides up to the 9th fret and plays 6th string on the 9th fret, and then 6th string and 3rd string, and then the 8th fret on the 1st string. And then slides down to the 7th fret and plays those same strings, but they're all on the 7th fret this time. And then down to the 5th fret, and then open. And then he does it again. It, and then he plays the same pattern, like the same position that the same sort of chord form that he plays up here, but he plays that down. So all around the world, like a ghost among the trees. Up to here, and then he does a little turnaround after that, which is so that's playing on the 8th fret. This is all on the 1st string. So yeah, let's try to get this in here. So yeah, start at the 8th fret, and then like the 5 to 7, you do a hammer on, and then you do the same thing 3rd to the 5th fret with a hammer on, and then the open string, and then bend. So whether it's the 3rd fret or the 2nd fret, you know, you can hammer on the 2nd string, and then you play the 1st string open, and then you go back to what he did before the 1st verse, where you play an entire verse just instrumentally again. And then that whole pattern of the instrumental 1st verse, and then singing the 1st verse, and then the chorus. Like a ghost among the trees. I'm probably getting the lyrics wrong. In the land of elegies. Now here it's different because we're going into the outro of the song. So it goes, in the land of elegies, and then he holds it. Now this part is fun and interesting and maybe a little tricky because he's sliding these kind of jumping these chord forms up and down the neck. So take this part slow, but basically I'll play it at speed. I'll try to play it at speed, and then we'll slow it down. So so the last part goes. So it's the first 6th and 3rd strings on the 9th fret, and then the first string on the 8th fret, and then you slide down to the 5th, and those same strings, but all of them are on the 5th fret, and then up to the 7th, and then down to the 4th fret and 3rd fret. And then he hangs on to that for 2 bars. And then does a kind of hammer on from the 3rd fret to the 5th. So. And then plays that again. And then he plays this. It goes down to the 3rd and 6th strings on the 4th fret. And then he does these little hammer-ons on the open string to the 3rd fret. And he's jumping between the 3rd string and the 1st string. Let's see. Now, the way that he plays it, this is maybe a good interjection. The way that he plays it, and I'm sorry if my hands are kind of in the way. I'm trying to figure out the best angle to show you this stuff. But let's see. I'll try to play it, maybe play it up here. So the 3rd string and the 3rd string and the 1st string kind of do this harmony. Now the way that he plays it is he does this where this is the 3rd and 1st string, this is the 2nd and 1st string, and then he goes back. And I haven't quite worked out how to do that. So what I typically do is just do so then he, you put 5th fret on the 6th string, 5th fret on the 3rd string, and 5th fret on the 2nd string. And what you kind of do, if you can see my fingers, so you get that dissonance between the 2 strings that are basically playing 1 note apart. So yeah. And then he ends. Now you can just play, there are a couple of different ways that you can do this. You can just play the 1st string on the 8th fret and just play the rest of it open, or you can just do and just play everything open. What I like to do, what I like to do is something like this. So you just on the 7th fret, you just bend it up that half step. So yeah, so I hope that helps. I hope that's not too confusing. I hope being able to see what I'm doing with my hands and hear me describe it at the same time, I hope that that is helpful. Let me know in the comments if it's not, or if there's something that maybe I could stand to re-explain for you. Apologies for all the background noise. I live in an old house and it's very noisy. So anyway, yeah, I hope that helps. I hope you enjoyed it. And you know, if you like that, if you like this tuning, definitely check out some John Fahey stuff. It's really good. It's called American Primitive Style, and it's funny because a lot of his songs, and I know this is about A.A. Bondy, but John Fahey, a lot of his songs are very, they sound very complex, but they're actually deceptively simple. Like they're actually easier to play than they sound. And there are some tricky parts. A lot of it is kind of an alternating your finger picking pattern and kind of doing that, changing up the pattern in different points throughout the song. But yeah, if you liked this, let me know what you think. You know, I don't do tutorials that often, but I'd love to do more. So yeah, let me know what you think. Thanks.